on behalf of Cashmere Residents Association. I think we've already got this, haven't we? Isn't this included in our packet? Has it changed?
No, you just handed it.
No, but it's...
Oh, is that the one? Okay.
Underline those things.
Yeah, okay.
That's what concerns me. Yeah.
Did you have any amendments to that?
Right, fire away.
Okay. Good morning, Madam Mayor and councillors. Thank you very much for this opportunity to meet with you today. My name is Rick Tindall. I'm here representing the Cashmere Residents Association, and our organisation has worked with residents in the wider area in South Christchurch around the Barrington Commercial Complex as the Barrington Issues Group. And I'd like to introduce Jim King, resident of Spraydon, sitting beside me today. He's helped write the submission that you have, and also acknowledging Lois Wells from Summerfield, who will speak to you this afternoon. Also helped draft the submission. So first off, I want to commend the council very strongly that the work that's been done, pre-consultation and drafts, different options coming towards the proposal that you put out showed a high degree of intelligence, of understanding of local communities and where they sit. I'm talking specifically about community boundaries. It's really the major issue that I have in coming here today. My perspective is really from that of community organising, of community associations, residents associations. It's really where my heart has been since the earthquakes. Strong commitment there. I must also acknowledge I'm a member of the Spraydon Heathcote Community Board. For resident groups, the one I'm part of has a long history and is quite undeterrable or permanent, shall we say. It's been there for over 100 years, but I think the benefit of having a resident association to belong to is something that should be a right for all citizens of Christchurch. And this is the opportunity with this bit of planning the council is putting together to facilitate community engagement. We know that you have a community governance policy which at this point could very much be advantaged by the decisions you make with your representation review or disadvantaged. So this is about how can communities organise to engage with the council directly, and the one thing they don't need, that they're seeing in the 16 ward proposal, is too many boundaries put in the wrong places. So in our area, as has been listed in the submission that you have, we're talking about Summerfield and Spraydon boundary, Hillmorton in 2 wards, Hallsville and Spraydon, Hoonhay in 2 wards, Hallsville and Spraydon, and Woolston in 2 different community board areas in 2 different wards. So it is quite a mess, actually, from the community organising point of view, to try and fix up all those problems at the one time. And so when you draw it back, or to see what causes this number of divisions in local communities, it is that the number's too high. The number of the division is too high. So it's like a strainer. The finer the mesh of the strainer, the smaller the particles that come through. And so with 16 wards, you've got smaller containers for communities than would be the case with less wards. So the argument here today is you're close to getting it right. And clearly, if the communities work together and feel what is right for them, express it to you clearly, and the council agrees with the communities, then the local government commissioner is likely to agree with you, and we'll all be heading towards what's going to be an exceptional year of engagement for the council with the local communities next year. So it's really important to get this right now, to get the map in which the engagement next year will happen to suit the communities. And the submission here is really that it doesn't seem to have been the case that communities have been connected with adequately, that the number of 16 wards as a requisite, or a high number of wards, 16 or higher, causing the smaller ward size is causing too many divisions. So it's a straightforward proposal here to say that just reduce that number a little to 14, and it's a much better picture for Christchurch. All the community issues, the community boundary issues that I've listed, Hill, Morton, Hoon Hay, Somerfield divisions go away, and by reducing the community board area from 3 wards to 2, the Woolston issue is resolved as well, and primarily around that is retention of the Higley Ferrymead Community Board, because what is heard most often in the communities from members of the communities is the community boards are highly valued, and you've seen that in the feedback that you've had already, that people like their community boards being around. And like it or not, there is a backward step being taken with the proposal. Any version of the proposal reduces the number of community board members in every ward, and that's really a big loss for the council and community engagement. So how can we moderate the impact of that by not taking away Higley Ferrymead Board and retaining 14 wards in total? I better finish soon so you've got plenty of time for questions. So I take it you've read the submission and seen the maps that are in there. So it picks up your July draft of the 14 ward map and asks for some boundary revisions to that, and suggesting that the Heathcote Valley needs to be identified as a geographic feature connected with the peninsula, after which that large ward should be named, that the Banks Peninsula Heathcote ward is the right name for that large ward, and that the whole of the Heathcote Valley needs to be in it right to the river, so that the legacy of the Heathcote County Council is retained and the river connection is made, the valley through to Littleton as one whole. That's what we see as an appropriate way to integrate Banks Peninsula into the city, and we would see population exchanged at the west end of the ward, of the Beckenham ward in the 14 ward model, so that the Craycroft area could stay with that. And the Westmoreland community also, as we understand it, have a similar interest in being part of that hill suburb ward at that point. So I'll leave it there and give you time for questions.
I just wondered whether, Mr. Kane, whether you'd like to make a contribution as well. We'd like to hear from you as well.
Oh, thank you very much for the opportunity, but I'm only here to represent Rick, but my view is that after having sat through yesterday, or some of yesterday, I've come to the conclusion that we are only representing the south of Christchurch, really, and we're not representing the whole of Christchurch. So therefore, what we've got to say is really only connected with the south of Christchurch. But I'd also like to say that I believe that Banks Peninsula is too big an area to accumulate into, or to assimilate into Christchurch.
Maybe that's a good place to start, because I think that there's been a lot of discussion around the Banks Peninsula, and certainly the desire of the council has been to sort of meet what we felt was the direction from the Local Government Commission the last time it considered our boundaries, and that was to really assimilate Banks Peninsula into the city. And I think some of the problems that have been raised by the South Christchurch community, if I can group them in that way, actually stem from that decision. So if we were able to review that decision, and if that were acceptable to the Local Government Commission, is it just a question of adjusting some of the boundaries that we've talked about here, rather than Because, as you say, you're speaking to South Christchurch, but your viewers is to reduce the number of wards from the proposal. If that were not going to be the position adopted by the council, would some adjustments around the boundaries? I mean, we had a submission yesterday which suggested that the Woolston issue could be addressed by shifting a boundary and bringing some of Woolston into the mix. Do you think we could just, you know, if Banks Peninsula is the driver, and if we were able to resolve that, would we be able to resolve some of your issues just by shifting some of the boundaries and making it more inclusive of the communities of interest that you've identified?
Are you talking to me or to Rick?
Oh, well, I thought that
Okay.
you raised the issue of Banks
All right,
Peninsula,
okay.
so I thought...
Well, I think that if we could get rid of Banks Peninsula...
we can't get rid of it. If we could establish it as its own ward, as it is at the moment.
Yeah, well, as I said, if we could, then certainly by shifting some of the boundaries to what they were before, we've been closer to what we were aiming for. Yeah.
And you'd agree with that?
Well, we don't have the option of excluding Banks Peninsula or ignoring the fact that it's the driver of the whole remapping of Christchurch. We have to integrate it somehow, and I've heard clearly from the councillor that represents the area now that one councillor per ward is doable, is comfortable, and so every ward is going to have one councillor. I think that's the major issue you've got. Do you have 2 wards per councillor, two councillors per ward, and a smaller number of wards, say 7 or 8, and or you're going to have a bigger number and 1 councillor per ward. So not taking up that issue, we're accepting that it's 1 ward per councillor because that's what Banks Peninsula's got. All of Christchurch is going to look like Banks Peninsula from now on. We just have to move forward with that. So yes, it's a matter of adjusting. Where do you put those boundaries for Banks Peninsula? And we do have a strong community of interest where we are, and can see that the Heathcote Valley being divided up is less beneficial result than keeping it together and identifying it as the key geographic feature for Christchurch and that ward area, and trying to do something to bring that community together in its representation ability.
That's fine. That's good. Is there any other questions? No? Look, thank you very much, both of you. I really appreciate you coming along today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.